For me, English cricket is now officially in full-on crisis mode. We were humiliated at Trent Bridge by New Zealand. It was an absolutely woeful performance, particularly on that fourth evening. And in the middle of the game, Ben Stokes resigns. I can scarcely believe it. Only English cricket and the absolute circus that English cricket has become particularly in the last 6 or 7 months, could get to a point where our go-to guy, our number one player, the most important name on the team sheet, the one guy that the Aussies fear, the one guy that the Aussies know, while he is at the crease or he is in the game, they are not safe. And he's retired. And what makes it all the more sickening to me is that empty-headed dipshit Brendan McCullum is still the coach, and that feckless buffoon Rob Key, who couldn't run a bath, let alone the English Cricket Board, have outlasted Stokes. It's an absolute shambles. And let's just rewind. We had Stokes comes back, we win at Lords, he's out after the game has finished. Yes, fine, maybe he has broken the curfew, but the game has finished. It's not the end of the world. He's then seemingly been involved in something which we've been told he didn't even witness. He's then left completely hung out to dry by Key, by McCullum, by the ECB. There's no statements backing him up. Just say, we're going to go through a process. We'll see where we go. It's all completely contradicted by his County Durham. And then on the fourth morning of the game, not even at the beginning of the game or at the end of the game, it's suddenly announced that he's retiring from all international cricket. And as I said, only in English cricket at the moment could this happen. The whole thing from top to bottom is an absolute shambles. And the one guy who had the guts over the winter to come out at the end and say, this is not working, we need to change, no room for weak men in my changing room, who actually went out there in defiance and batted differently to the rest of the team because he was embarrassed by what was going on. He was embarrassed by what was happening to English Test cricket, and he is the one who's gone. And I tell you what, apart from my first emotions are, one, it's extremely sad that we won't get to see Ben Stokes play for England again. Number one, first and foremost. But not far after that is, we ain't winning the Ashes. No chance next year. Now, absolutely zero chance. The Aussies will be over the moon with this news. Yes, they may have a little bit of a tinge of, we'd like to play one more time against Stokes, against the best players. I get that. But I think in terms of them sharpening their minds to the task at hand in less than a year's time, for them to know that Ben Stokes' name is not going to be on the England team sheet, massive boost. For me, Ashes all over. Especially if we've got some Brook and McCullum coalition, goodness me, leading the charge. I will come on in another video onto how Harry Brook went about his batting on the fourth. I mean, Michael Vaughan summed it up. It was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. And the thought of him being next England captain, the Ashes, the games will be over in 2 days, and not in a good way for England. And again, maybe one for another video slightly further down the line, but with Ben Stokes going, who or what does the future look like? Who comes next? I don't think it's right to go back to Joe Root. I think he should just be left alone. If he wants to keep playing, try and get Tendulkar's record. Fair enough. It cannot be Harry Brook. Not really because of the New Zealand nightclub incident, because of his brainless batting, again, the series, particularly at Trent Bridge. Not just brainless, he's just self-indulgent, selfish batting. No care for the state of the game, for what the best thing for him to do as the most talented batsman in the team is. For the team, he just goes out and does his own thing all through the winter. At the Oval, that shot at the Oval to gift the game back to India at the end of last summer, I could go on and on and on. India at Lords last summer, the stupid scoop shot when he got bowled. For me, he cannot be captain. But then you think, well, who? Please let me know in the comments. Honestly, I'm out of ideas, and I'm incredibly worried about what comes next. I just don't understand where we go from here. But please let me know. I'm going to be fascinated to know what you think. Look, maybe you have a better suggestion than me. Please try not to say Jacob Bethel. That name seems to be getting bandied around. Heaven help if it's Jacob Bethel. Not that, look, if he goes away and plays county cricket, he could be a future England captain. But if we give it to him at the moment, then, I'm probably going to pack up watching England at that point. And this whole thing is so strange. In the middle of the game, the way it came out, the way it was announced, the way it was almost sort of set up so it could open the batting. There's something not all right about this whole situation going back to the nightclub incident to Lords. It just doesn't sit right with me. Look, when Ben Stokes does a book, it's going to be a massive deal, and hopefully he'll maybe give some more insight in a book. I mean, fuck, that will fly off the shelves, won't it, when that comes out? But for the time being, it's just such a strange situation. Why is he quit in the middle of a game, in the middle of the summer? You would have thought the way Ben Stokes he'd have been all up for one last crack at the Aussies next year. And is this really the end? Say by some absolute miracle, there's major changes at the ECB, and you have a serious coach, a la, I don't know, a Gary Kirsten, Duncan Fletcher type coach, whoever that may be. Could they persuade him to come back in an environment that is run properly, that is grown up, that is responsible, that is geared towards winning test match games? All the things that the current environment is certainly not set up to do. If we struggle against Pakistan late in the summer, then we go down to South Africa and we lose over the winter, I tell you what, the clamouring for Stokes for England will be massive, and why not? If he's fit and firing and playing for Durham at the start of next season, we want him in the team, right? And then you have the problem of actually replacing him as a player, the balance of the side, the batting, the bowling, the leadership again. And just one of the saddest things that this whole thing has overshadowed is just how good New Zealand were in the series, and they were at Trent Bridge. And again, another video further down the line, but this one, I just wanted to focus in now. I had my say on Stokes. I'm gutted that he's gone. If there is a team Stokes versus team Keane McCullum, as you can probably tell, I'm all in on the Stokes camp. But look, let's assume he's done with international cricket. What a career test match wise. Only him and Callis have scored over 7,500 runs and taken over 250 wickets. The 5,000 runs and 250 wicket club is Callis, Stokes, Botham, Capelden. So you're in some serious company. And if you just want to drop the wickets down from 250 to 200, you get Sobers straight in there as well. So, we always talk, you don't want to talk about the pantheon of all-rounders, the true greats of the game, the best cricketers to play cricket. It's always, it's Callis and Sobers, 1A, 1B, whichever way around you want to pick them. Who am I to argue with that? And I think the thing that makes those two stand out is that in their own right, both of those are two of the very best batsmen to ever play the game. Now, you can't say that Stokes is one of the best batsmen to ever play the game or one of the best bowlers to ever play the game. But you look at his record, you look at the fact that, with Callis, 7,000 runs, 250 wickets, his fielding, his catching, his leadership. You got that next group down. So you've got Botham, Imran Khan, Kapil Sir Richard Hadley. Stokes. He's got to be right at the top of the second group, just below Callis and Sobers for me. That's what a player he is. And then you think of all the moments and things that he's done in the game and things that he's done for England, from his 100 in the Wacker. That was his second test, wasn't it? He came in that tour. He was completely falling to bits. Obviously, Jonathan Trott had a breakdown, had to go home. There was all that infighting with Peterson, and the whole thing was going to shit, and Mitchell Johnson was absolutely destroying England. I actually went out for Sydney and Melbourne of that series, so I missed the Stokes innings live, but obviously I was watching from the UK at the time. On a brute of a pitch in the fourth innings at the Wacker, when the game was done for England, he was the one guy who really fronted up at such a young age. He didn't give a shit about Mitchell Johnson and all the chat and Harris and all that sort of thing. And at that moment, I think we knew we had something special. And then you have that strange period. He punched a locker. Can't remember the backstory of that. I remember he punched a locker. And then if you recall, I think it was under Peter Moores, he started batting below Wokes and Chris Jordan in the Test match team. It was just incredible. He went through this period where he was sort of sidelined almost, and then after Moores went, I think it was Farbrace interim, brought him back. He got a magnificent 100 against New Zealand at Lords in 2015, and that sort of relaunched Stokes as one of the best cricketers in the world. And then you go to 2019, we would not have won that World Cup. Not just the final, there was a game where England faltered, if you remember the group stages. We weren't just sort of flowing as we had been in general for the build-up in the previous 4 years to that tournament. I don't know if it's a few nerves or whatever, we lost a few games, but Stokes dragged us to the final. And then in that final, he alone dragged us to that super over. Headingley, the same summer, just ice cold. I remember that reverse sweep for 6 off Nathan Lyon. You're at that stage of a massive pressure game. It's getting closer and closer. You're one of the best spinners in the history of the game who's turning it big out the rough, and you want to execute your skills, a difficult skill, under pressure. And just like he did in the World Cup when he got down on one knee and slog swept that 6, he fucking nailed Lyon reverse sweep for 6. Just only special players can do things like that. You remember Cape Town with Bairstow. That was an incredible knock. I think was that 2016, 2017. And then, I was at Lord's for his 150 odd in a losing cause, in the test where it all kicked off with Bairstow. Just an incredible innings of, fuck you defiance to the Aussies. Again, they were gone at that point. They didn't know, what was coming at them. It was an absolute, just sort of this Roy of the Rovers innings. And then the last year, his bowling, he was by far our best bowler against India last summer. We wouldn't have got away with that without a draw if it wasn't for Stokes. Him, along with Tong, was our best bowler in the winter. Obviously, he played the full series as opposed to Tong. He's been our best bowler again in this New Zealand series. Make no mistake about it, the last game against New Zealand at Trent Bridge, the only reason that's not New Zealand getting 700 and then England folding twice to even more humiliation than we've already suffered was because Ben Stokes, on an absolute flat wicket, 4 wickets, he single-handedly grabbed that team by the scruff of the neck and brought them back into the game. And this is why it's such a shame that he is seemingly gone now, because it's not just replacing him, the cricketer, the balance of the side. It's the leadership, it's the inspiration. He is the go-to guy. There are, Cook's gone, Anderson's gone, Broad's gone, Wood's probably gone. We're really struggling for those characters, who's the bloke who you would go to war with, those sort of guys. Duckett's okay, Smith, absolutely not, Jamie Smith. You have Bethel and Archer, the IPL mercenaries. The Test cricket's not the top of their priorities. It's just a really, really worrying time now. And as I said, the fact that these 2 frauds, McCullum and Key, have outlasted him. And for me, they were waiting for this to happen. They're at the forefront of him sort of being shunned by the ECB and not given the support, certainly publicly. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, I honestly believe that McCullum is pissed that Stokes broke rank over the winter, went and batted differently, and then told it like it was at the end of the press conference. Because, fuck me, McCullum, if you thought he was deluded in Sydney and what he was saying about how close the team were and he needed a bit of nip and tuck, you should just listen to him after Trent Bridge. He's like, we're going the right direction. I know where we're going with these guys. The plan to bat like they did on the 4th afternoon, it was all pre-planned. We collaborated together and we came up. So what the fuck, had you not seen how New Zealand batted? How Daryl Mitchell, in particular, and Ravindra dug in, and then not to mention the fact that New Zealand, they came into that game without 2 bowlers. They're losing bowlers hand over fist. What it actually required was a bit more, old-fashioned Test cricket. Mitchell had shown us the way. So, if you think we're getting anywhere with McCullum, I'm just in despair at him. He's so full of shit, and he's so deluded. I don't know what the fuck he is looking at compared to the rest of it. It's just amazing. And as I said, the one guy who recognised that there needed to be changes is gone. And we're in big trouble now. Big trouble. But look, to wrap it up on Stokes, as they say, the word legend gets thrown around, too easily. But he is a legend of English cricket, a legend of Test match cricket. He is one of the best cricketers to ever play cricket. And I think that's as simple as a way as you can put it. He's provided me and English fans all around the world with just some of the most amazing memorable moments that you thought were not possible, but he made them possible. He went out there and he performed. He did things in unbelievable situations and unbelievable pressure that, for you and I, it's just not possible. But for somebody like him, it was business as usual. So although it's sad that he's gone, I guess we have to try and celebrate all that he brought English cricket and cricket around the world. I think if you asked any of the other sides in the last 10 years, if you take one player from any of the other sides in the world, they'd probably take Ben Stokes, right? He's been that good. And yeah, as you probably tell, I'm gutted, absolutely gutted that he's gone. He's fully fit. Yes, I know his batting's slightly gone off a bit, but he can get that back with some practice and some proper coaching. He's our best bowler. He's bowling as well as ever. And as I said, this just plays into the Aussies' hands, right? It's just unbelievable. But look, thank you to Ben Stokes, amazing player. I will be back next time, and I will be picking the bones out of Trent Bridge. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll speak to you then.